So we've just finished the tour of this remarkable property, SYLVAN GLADE, and we've been lucky enough today that with the history of this house that's been on Grand Designs featured with Kevin MacLeod here, the owner's been kind enough to arrange for the architect to come and see us today. So welcome, James. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be back here.
James, tell us a little bit about what the inspiration was behind this project.
Sure. So the inspiration came from, I think, two different directions. One from a historical perspective, which I think may come across as a little bit unusual in that it's such a contemporary modernist house in a sense, or certainly a reference to modernism. So it goes back to the 1920s and 30s when Keston Park was first developed. It was an American architect that came and had this big landscape idea about houses sitting back within the parkland, no hedges at the front.
Sure.
And that was really inspiring to me, that we could work on the site where we could design a building that would sort of be absorbed into that landscape.
Because it's very different to everything else in Keston Park, isn't it?
Completely. Completely, yes. In fact, they don't really reference the period, or a couple of them do with arts and crafts references, that's for sure. But a lot of the arts and crafts buildings are rendered or brick. It's very hard for them to absorb the landscape as the glass does. And I think that's one of the most impressive things as you arrive, that there's the historical side of that reference, but there's also the reference of the technology of now. So the glass is of now, in a sense, in the large sheets that we could achieve. And bringing those two elements together, we were able to sort of carve this building really and cast it onto the site.
And how much did the design, how much was led by the owners and how much was the input from yourself?
Well, led completely by the owners. I mean, in terms of aesthetics, they wanted a very open and transparent house. They wanted something that brought the garden right into the main living spaces, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's really quite impressive. And that's really, for me, that's beautiful to see after sort of 14 years, 15 years, it's now sort of taking hold.
Yeah.
So this teenager of a building is really coming to life. So they had big ideas about multi-generational living and all different sort of things that they'd been through many times actually over a 20-odd year period of actually being on this site in a very different house.
Yeah.
A house that didn't refer to the garden very easily, that was very sort of a boxy sort of typical sort of brick and block rendered house. Yes, with small windows and the odd French door.
And you mentioned earlier as well that this really has been a multi-generational home.
It has, and in fact Grandma was very important, Penny's mother was very important at the beginning. And yes, a little emotional about that. Very lovely woman, and I think made this house possible really, and brought that life to it. And that's really a very important part for Spaced Out, for our company, as to how we work with people. And later on it became 4 generations in the house. So one of the sons returned with his wife and children, and the 4 generations were living, cohabiting together. It's a really lovely moment.
And as it stands, the house it's no one would describe a house as clever. The fact that you've got an annex on the first floor.
Yes.
Because of the way the driveway is a slope, and then you have the lift that runs from the garage up through the ground to the first floor, the whole house is completely wheelchair friendly and accessible, and
absolutely
very, very rare to get that.
Yeah, so yes, full life cycle living, absolutely. And although it's not obvious on the plan layout, the formation of the plans, particularly of Grandma's apartment, as you refer to it, on the first floor.
Yeah.
Although there's an identical kind of suite potentially below that, really. But the idea of the way the bathroom was laid out and how that could be used with a bath or turned to a wet room, and then, yes, the whole location of bed to bath, and these things are very important, life cycle living. So yes, and the house has, and it's 2 halves in a way. So you have a very private wing away from the main bedroom, where this apartment exists, and as I say, a similar one on the ground floor potentially. And then there's also working within the home, which obviously we were all forced to do during lockdown, but was something that we built in right from the beginning. Paul and Penny both had work demands and hobbies that they wanted to pursue, and they've done that very graciously within the building.
We were talking before we turned the cameras on. You know, you can measure a house in square footage, but if only you could advertise a house by its volume. And I don't know what that would be here, but with the ceiling heights, especially this double height here,
Sure.
it's a significant amount of property, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, the lounge's dining area is double its size, really. You've got the gallery, which is part of that double height space, and a lovely place to sit and look down into the garden and listen to the activity down here, maybe. And I think Grandma used to do that quite a bit. She'd sort of hang out up there and kind of listen into what was happening down here and be part of it, but sort of still having her own headspace. So I think this house is glamorous, and although it's very open, you can be private. You can just sort of move away upstairs a little bit, or sidle in in the dining room under the balcony.
Yes.
You know, or you can put yourself in the lounge and be really on show. So it's for show-offs, and it's also for those that like a little bit of privacy.
Yeah, you can declare yourself to your guests from the balcony up there.
Completely.
You can just sneak off and find yourself a quiet space in the other wing, if you like.
Yes, and London is about theatre, and you know, we all love theatre, and this is a very theatrical home in that sense. So it's something I've always enjoyed, and I think that's come through our studio with Paul and Penny to make this very theatrical house, including the sort of the little open and closed sort of shuttered windows.
I was going to ask about those.
Yeah.
What was the thought process there? Was there a request?
Yes, in a way they're a bit like sort of private boxes, you know, that you could sort of open and sort of peer down into the theatre and sort of then disappear again. And having a conversation across the space to somebody maybe staying. I mean, that happens to be used as a study, but it could be a small guest bedroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask as well.
Lots of transparency, but also privacy.
Yes, of course. And when you come through the front door, you're in that very small entrance hall. That's almost like an airlock. And then you've been outside, you approach the front of the house. It's the dappling, reflecting in the glass is amazing. And then you step out of that small anteroom into this space. It really just has the wow factor. Did you design it that way on purpose? What was that?
Yes, that sort of big outside and the little bit of compression holding, and then, you know, then just the big reveal of coming into the space, and the sliding door is important for that reveal. Yeah, it's really quite cinematic in that sense, or theatrical, as we said earlier.
And
so I think that's really important. Sort of how does one feel in time and space through a building? So if we go back to what I said right at the beginning about the history, so you're in Keston Park, and the landscape's being absorbed into this very contemporary facade. You then come into a relatively small hall, very tall space, unusual TARDIS-like space. And then, yes, the big reveal of the garden. And the back and the front being different is the privacy side, having one expression. This is about maybe Paul and Penny saying something about themselves, whereas the front is more, although it's a lot of glass, it's actually quite private because it's paint backed a lot of the glass. The facade is glazed, but not all of it is transparent.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of a sort of magical thing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest challenge fulfilling their brief and designing this house?
I think the planning process. The neighbours, they were very vocal. That was tough, but going back to the historical aspect, I think that was really well put forward at the planning committee stage, and it just scraped through, and I think that was what swung it really, that there is a reference back to the period of the park, rather than it being something out of keeping with the park. It's in keeping, although it is unique within the park. So yes, I mean, as you know, Keston Park being gated is a very special private place in itself, and very secure, which I think, very.
Talking about it being unique, before we finish, obviously this home was featured on Grand Designs.
Yes.
How was that?
Very interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Why do you think they were so interested in this property in particular?
Well, I think the technology being used, well, there's lots of things. I think Paul and Penny, having lived on the site, demolishing and rebuilding on the same site, often people are buying a new site that they've had their eye on for a while, or that they've been able to acquire. I think there was that aspect. There was also the excitement about the technology, the heat mirror film within the glazing, and the way in which the house is a real machine for living in. It's very well tuned. The underfloor heating system, the shading. It looks like a flat roof, but it's not. It's a pitched roof, so it's not too much of a problem long term. People find flat roofs to be stressful. which is understandable when you've got lots of trees around and so forth. But anyway, so I think they were excited by the technology, and then potentially if something might go wrong, that always helps the program.
Yes, very true.
Nothing much went wrong really.
Great.
Apart from a little bit in the ground. We found a few oddities in the ground, wasn't as clean as we hoped. And there was a little bit of cost extension, but the glazing miraculously came pretty much on time. So
Great.
Okay. And then I think for me it's really important, a potential buyer could be watching this, and it will be, I really will be the next caretaker of this property. We talked about multi-generational living, but you were saying earlier how flexible the house could be if people did want to make changes internally. I don't think there is any necessarily any, but if they wanted to open up and have fewer but larger bedrooms, for example, how possible is that?
Oh, very possible. It's a very, very adaptable building. I mean, it sort of reveals itself a little bit with the columns on the outside, which you see, which sort of tell you a little bit about the frame. There's some sort of frame behind this building, but it's so well documented that it would be very easy for somebody to understand it and to do that. I think it would be really worth living in it for a while, because it's extremely glamorous as it is, and gentle as well. So really worth giving it a good try first and foremost, and seeing how your family develops and how you want to then really use the space. But yeah, I think it would be great to see that next phase of its life. As I said, it's a teenager. It's going into adulthood, so take it on and bring on another life to the home. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to film the property and see it. So
thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed meeting you and talking about it again.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, if you'd like to see the full film of the property, we've just finished filming it before this interview, and it'll be coming out very soon.